Said Reading Club. This is episode 1. I was going to say we have issues, but we can't really say that until we've had like 10 of these done. Then we go, hey, we've got issues. So I'm Rob Southgate, and with me is
Phil Parrish.
Hey, Phil. I was going to do the thing that we do on Nuff Said too, like rambunctious Rob Southgate, but I can't think of anything other than rambunctious. So, and I think I've used that 100 times. And then you're Filmy and Phil, right?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
We gave the best one away. Look, I have a cat walking by in the background. We
Well
gave
done.
the best one away with Professor Esser. That's the best.
Uh-huh.
I mean, how do we top that,
He fills that role so great, too.
Yeah, and I wanted to be Rob the Man, but I'm like, that doesn't work as well as Stan the Man Lee. That just doesn't. So,
And a little would never let you get away with that.
sure he would. He wouldn't know. He's not going to watch this. He's too busy with his League of Geeks. So here's the idea of this show. This is going to be a weekly show. We're going to cover old issues. See, Marvel has issues of Marvel, and this all stemmed out of having Marvel U for me. That sounded bad too. But Phil does not. Oh, you have Marvel U now, right? There's Marvel U.
No, I actually have a month free trial, so I'll have to try that out.
You have to, man. I got that month free, and then I joined a class where I actually got it for 12 months for free.
Mhm.
The class wasn't free. This was free. And actually, no, the class was free. And I got this as a bonus. It was awesome. It's fantastic. At first, what I was doing is going, okay, what are some of the series I wanted to go back and read? And I started doing that. And then I had never read before. And I thought, I should read these. Then I started doing things like what we're going to do right now and taking titles that maybe I hadn't read at all, not just story arcs. We're going to do story arcs. We're going to do titles. And I want to dig deep. Like I read, they have a reading club on there, and we might follow their lead some too, where they did Tomb of Dracula. And I hadn't read a Tomb of Dracula since I was a kid. I forgot even that Marvel had it. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. It was fantastic. I read the first 10 issues. It was great. Will I go back and read more? Yeah, absolutely. But after about 10 issues, I was ready to move on and check something else out for now. And that's the idea of the show. And here we are. Phil, you had the idea for this one.
Well, yeah, I just thought, we're starting with the first couple issues of Luke Cage Power Man. I thought it was, it would be great material since we're 2 weeks out until
from
Luke Cage on
hitting.
Netflix.
Yeah. Now, okay, I hope we read the same thing. You keep saying Luke Cage Power Man, and the first issues that I found say Luke Cage Hero for Hire.
Yeah, that's it. No, I just have the collected essential Luke Cage.
And that's where it calls it Power Man.
Yeah, the whole collection is Luke Cage Power Man, yeah.
Gotcha. Because it's got these first Hero for Hire, and then it's got that second series, because they only did, 17 issues of Hero for Hire, right?
Yeah, it was the first 16 were Hero for Hire, and then it went through Power Man.
Yeah, okay. So we're focusing on Hero for Hire. Wow. We're doing this early. You ever hear that Nuff Said where Jack and I did it at like 7 a.m?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I've got brain damage. This is 8 o'clock in the morning for me, so there's slightly less, but it's still pretty bad. The coffee is flowing already. I need to get like a Marvel one,
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that we need to start having a Stan Lee cameo in these. So I'll have either a Stan Lee pop vinyl or a Stan Lee. I've got a really good one that I got to find that I want to have. So it's always in our shots. Doesn't mean we'll get rid of these. We'll put different things up here each time. But I think having Stan Lee in the background, like over here, just as a cameo, would be really funny. There's a little peek behind the curtains, kids. You're not going to hear that one again. Okay, so let's talk about this, man. You read the first. We're going to do the first 5. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Good, because I read the first 5. I got to number 6. I'm about halfway through it. And one thing I want to say up front about this series, this is the 1972 Luke Cage Hero for Hire series. I had never read any of these. It's interesting. I'm aware of Luke Cage. I've read him in other books, but usually Avengers books. You know, he's hanging out like especially like when they got to the Secret Avengers where they broke off and they were like battling each other, and he's hanging out with Spidey and those guys, and he's a great character in that series. That was my exposure to Luke Cage.
Yeah, I had read these, like, I think I got this collection like 10 years ago.
Okay.
So that was like my first exposure to these, and then it was fun to go back and reread this because I don't think I've reread this in a few years. There's a few things I didn't remember about this, like I didn't remember Claire Temple was in these.
No, me either. You know what? Actually, this was a real surprise for me. I ate it up. The one thing I'll say, though, is for some reason, it feels like molasses getting through these. It's taken me forever to get through 5 issues. They're short. They're regular issues. I'm enjoying the heck out of it, and I'm loving Luke Cage. But for some reason, like, I start to read it when I go to bed. It might just be that I'm overworked or something, but I start to read it when I go to bed, and I'm like, oh, I barely got through 1 issue. Whereas, like, I was reading a couple weeks ago, I was reading last week, it was the Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom book. It's like 180 pages. It's Mike Mignola, the one who did Hellboy. I don't know if you've read this. Have you read this one?
No, I've been meaning to get to this one. Yeah,
right. You're going to read it. We're going to talk about it out here because it is a great book. But I read 180 pages in one sitting, like before I went to bed. It was like, I don't know, not a real long read, and it was fantastic. For some reason, this is taking me forever. So, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I mean, I was thinking we would do the next book next week. I think we're going to do another set of Luke Cage because I'm loving it.
Oh yeah. I think what gets you is I've noticed this with this book and like some of the other 70s books like Ghost Rider, like those original issues of Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of dialogue, and then like with this, and I'm trying to remember, I think some of the early Ghost Riders, they did this like, you know, the first issues like his kind of like the origin story with him in prison and stuff. But then by like the second or third issue, they're retelling they're like giving you a quick recap of the origin. It's like, okay, yeah, I just read this.
Especially in this, man. When you read issue 1, to me it felt more like a pilot. You know how pilots are shot separately? They shoot the pilot, they do their thing, then they do the second episode, and the second episode could be months later, and there's kind of a little recap, they do a little adjustment, they change it. This felt like that because when you read that next issue, it seems very detached from the first, but they're like, here's the origin again.
Well, it you know, again, it was the 70s, so it was what, before the direct market comic book stores, everyone was buying their books off the spinner racks and stuff, so they're probably, you know.
Yeah, you had to repeat.
They were definitely,
especially when you're introducing a new character like this.
Yeah, they were definitely in the mode of, you know, every comic book's somebody's first. Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this. I thought his origin story, go back to issue 1, it was Goodwin. Here, hold on. Archie Goodwin is the writer on all 5 of these. The artist changes some, but George Tuska did, excuse me, most of the 5 issues. Different artist for the covers. This one starts out, I mean, right out of the box, John Romita doing the cover. Awesome cover. Real strong. What's interesting is, okay, first of all, think about the time. Think about what it is. This is a black superhero. They put him street level. Since, as everybody that listens to our show knows, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. This is very much in that universe. I totally get why they use this for the Netflix show because it is in that universe. But I found it interesting. We have this guy in prison. Lot of, I want to say, stereotypical stuff going on, but they empower him so much, and they make him essentially innocent. I thought that was really, really great choices. It was stuff that I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Now the origin story, I've seen it later, but reading it here, I thought this was really strong. I just think that, like, I'll be interested to see if they do any of this on the show on Netflix. What do you think?
Well, I think haven't they showed in one of the trailers? I think they're gonna do the origin kind of like this because they show him in like in the vat of chemicals. I think they even have like the headband on him when he comes out of the tank.
Oh, do they? I haven't noticed that.
I think so. I think I heard someone say that. Yeah, yeah.
Now,
But
I do know that the doctor that puts him in the chemicals, he is in the show for sure,
yeah.
and we know Claire is, of course.
Yeah, I've heard different like podcasts and stuff with people who've seen this. Like I know Kevin Smith saw like the first 7 episodes of this or something, and he said there were so many Easter eggs in this.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the show.
I'm sure, and the reviews are great. You know, I don't know how they don't send us stuff. We actually have a little relationship with Marvel, and they never send us anything. I would love to be able to see this ahead of time and get our reviews in, but no, we have to wait until it drops.
That's what me and Charlie are always saying. Well, like we would review anything they send us, TV shows, comic books, anything.
Yeah. Well, especially since, I mean, you know, there's what, 10 shows out there that cover it the way we do, and we all kind of know each other, and I can never figure out why we're not seeing it ahead of time. But Luke Cage, I would think that would be an easy one to drop to us, but it didn't happen. Okay. So we got the first issue, origin story. After that, so we get the whole story. We're introduced to Cottonmouth. We're introduced to that idea, which, once again, I thought was really organic. I thought it was pretty cool, although he got really exceptional really fast at being a bad guy.
Yeah.
I loved Luke Cage picking out his costume because I always kind of hated his costume. I did. I just always thought it was cheesy. It didn't work for me. When you read in that first or second issue, when he goes to get the costume and he gets the business cards, he's like, hey, these other guys are giving it away for free. I can't afford to do that. I'm going to be a hero for hire. I loved all of that. And now, even though I still kind of hate his costume, I know about it. And I love knowing about it. And I hate that chain. And I love that he's like, oh, this is jive. But you know what? It's a costume. He goes to that was it, a resale shop, and they find a trunk of costumes, and he just takes like a circus outfit. And then first issue or second issue, I keep saying first. I don't know when. First thing he goes out and does, it gets all shot up. And he's like, yeah, that's not holding up. I'm invincible, but this silk shirt or whatever is garbage. I thought that was awesome, man.
Yeah, it just that shirt reminds me of like some like old school 70s disco something or
yeah, well, and that was the other thing I was going to say when I said it had that little bit of a stereotype. The way they have him speak, it's got that total 70s, you know, like they
jive turkey. Yeah,
you jive turkey. Yeah, it's got a lot of that kind of stuff. But you know what? If it was written now, it would seem out of place. When you think about the time and the context, they were actually trying to speak to an audience, and they were really trying to do something different. I like I said, I'm really, really digging it, and I'm really digging the different types of villains that they're bringing in. What's that Mama whatever in the fifth issue?
Black Mariah.
Black Mariah. What was that character?
I don't know. Well, they've actually brought her back in the recent in the new Power Man and Iron Fist series. She was just in a couple issues ago.
That's fantastic. I thought that was great how they had her, and at first like the cover like, introducing the Black Mariah, and then it's like street level thugs, and they're doing their thing, and then you find out that she's just kind of like she's not a kingpin. But she's like their aunt. And she's like, look, this is how we survive. We do this. And then Power Man comes in and she's like, oh no. You know? And I'm like, this is really it reminded me of like blaxploitation films. Which a lot of people when you start talking about that, when you start talking about it with a lot of people, they get like, oh, they shouldn't have been making these, or it was so stereotypical. But a lot of that was made by black directors, people in the community that were saying, we're going to try and tell a different type of story, which is if you see a movie like what is it? Sweet Sweetback's Badass with a million S's song.
Hmm.
That is blaxploitation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the entire everything involved in it was from the black community. The director was a powerful black director, and they weren't getting told what to do. They made an indie film outside of the system that felt very much like this Luke Cage book.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love that stuff. I had that on Laserdisc. Come on, Phil. Yeah. So I'm digging the characters. Now, is there anything you want to highlight out of this? Is there anything that's standing out to you?
I agreed with you. I had the whole Daredevil vibe, the whole street level thing last night. It's funny you said that I got that whole vibe, but it's you could tell they went like a different way, a different tone in the 70s, because just with this, like, we find out he was framed and he was innocent, but I mean, he starts he gets his powers in prison. It's the same thing with like Ghost Rider when they introduced him in the 70s. Like they did him as more like a Hulk type character, but
yes.
it's like, yeah, but he got his I mean, he was trying to save a life, but still he got his powers from the devil.
Yeah, and I wonder if we looked at the other books that were happening at this time, not just from Marvel, but from like DC. Who are they copying? Or is Luke Cage, because I'm getting senses of other characters here, and I wonder if stuff like this prison thing was them saying, okay, this is the story. Like we're kind of in that era where there's a lot of prison movies. There's a lot of that kind of idea, and we're thinking, okay, let's have another character born out of this. So yeah, I mean, I totally see that. It's the anti-hero thing that they were really playing with at this point in the early 70s. And once again, going stereotypical, they take a black guy out of the hood and they have him in prison, but it's wrong. But like every character is a jive talking black guy. And I'm like, you know what? It's a product of the time. But here I am reading it, really, really enjoying the story being told and really falling for this Luke Cage character, where I'm like, I want to see what happens to this guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm really excited for the show. I thought Jessica Jones, I thought Luke Cage was a standout character. I watched it with Martha. She knew nothing about either character, any character in it. And she was completely enthralled with it. And when I told her, Luke Cage is starting up in a couple of weeks, she was like, all right, we're there, because it was, he's great. I mean, the guy the show is great. He's great. And the buzz on this particular thing, one thing I read, one criticism said, not a criticism, they said it might be the best of the Marvel Netflix shows so far. They said somehow they keep ramping it up. And I mean, if you go back to that first Daredevil series, that was one of the best things I've ever seen. So
I think with like Jessica Jones, now Luke Cage, you're probably going to bring in like a different, you could maybe bring in a different audience, because I mean, like with your wife, my wife, I mean, they haven't read a lot of this stuff. And, sometimes I think people feel overwhelmed with like the history of some of like the superheroes.
Yeah.
But with,
well, what you just said is exactly it with Martha. She gets very tired of, all this backstory. We watched, she's never seen The Dark Knight. And we tried to watch it not long ago. And she was bored, number one. She said that she felt overwhelmed because I'm sitting there going, oh, this guy is this, and this is going to happen to this. And she said, I don't know any of this. Can't I just watch the movie? It was hard for her to connect. And then let's take the other element of it. Forget that movie. Superhero movies, like you watch the Avengers, unless you kind of are into that, it's a bunch of people running around in tights hitting each other.
Yeah,
and that's harder to connect with.
Yeah, that was my point, because the way you might bring in a new audience, like look at Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. You might have people with powers, but you're not going to have people like in the flashy costumes. And Jessica Jones was basically like a regular woman, except she had super strength and like that limited flying ability.
She was a bit of a train wreck.
Yeah.
All right. Phil, I'm going to end it because we want to keep these nice and short. A couple of things before we go. We have a podcast marathon coming up October 1st. It's going to be live at the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin. It's also going to be live right here on Google Hangout and YouTube Live. And at the Blue Box, it's different podcasts than it is here. Right. So if you're watching here, we're doing something different there. But Phil and Charlie are going to be doing Super Connectivity. And I think you're doing a DC Marvel or DC thing with Tyler, right?
Yeah, so me and Charlie are going to start the day off with some Marvel talk on Super Connectivity, and then Tyler and I are going to do some DC talk. I think it's 6 Eastern, 5 Central. So
awesome. If you want to support it, we have a Kickstarter up. Just go to Kickstarter, look up Second Annual SMG Podcast Marathon. What we're doing there is we're trying to get the funds to get some better equipment to improve quality where we can. We need a mixing board. We're going to get some PR. Hey, for the first time ever. We're trying to get some GoPros so we can up the quality of the video image. Just some things like that. So if you are a fan of Nuff Said or a fan of our different podcasts, Super Connectivity and any of that, that's all Nuff Said. Look, we give it away for free. And this is a way to show your support, to help us out, and help us really improve the quality of what we do. So that would be greatly appreciated. Jump on there. You can find all the links on our Facebook pages, on our Twitter account, bam, right there. I've been tweeting the heck out of it. And in the show notes for this, I'll make sure I put a link in there too. So if you watch this and you want to help us out, even $1 would be awesome. We have some great rewards. You can even guest on Nuff Said. I think it's the $25 level. So buy your way in. That's how Phil did it. Okay. What do we want to do next week? Are we going to do more Luke Cage, or do you want to jump to something else? I'm kind of up for jumping to something else.
Okay. What should we do? Should we do something Doctor Strange? Should we do something Iron Fist?
Or do you want to go completely? No. Let's do Doctor Strange. Do you have that? Well, you have Marvel U. Let's do the Doom Strange book.
Okay.
Do that one. So we'll talk about that next week. I can't wait to talk about it. I got a lot to say. And that's it. Phil, are you done? You want to give your social media, or is it on your screen there?
It should be down at the bottom there. Well, my Twitter at NightwingPDP, but my email is nightwingpdp@gmail.com. If anyone has any books they want us to talk about, let me know. Or
let us know.
Yeah.
And it's not just Phil and I. We're trying to get Charlie to jump in sometime. Jack wants to be on. Alil wants to be on. So we will have the whole Nuff Said crew at some point on this show. And we will put these up on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll be able to catch these weekly. We blew our 10 minutes, though. I think we went 15. It happens. That happens on Nuff Said. All right. That's it. We're out of here. Nuff Said.
Nuff Said.